dropping into Hallie's Creations. I'd like to say thank you. Of all the places you could go to on YouTube, you chose to check out my channel, and I'd like to say thank you for that. I hope I'm bringing to you quality shares that you can enjoy and take into your everyday life and make neat stuff. So without further ado, don't forget to subscribe, set your notifies, and let's get to it. I wanted to show you the difference when you sand it. See how smooth that looks and how it brings out the grain? Then over here it's rough still. You can still see that circular action from when they ran this through the mill. So it's really important to sand this down before you start going to town on it, just because it's just prettier. It just looks aesthetically better. Sorry, I'm choking on sawdust here. But anyway, when you're doing these projects, make sure you mask up. I am wearing a mask. I wish I had my N95, but they're in short supply right now. So I'm just using a regular mask. But mask up, wear your glasses or your goggles. Always use safety, be safe. Don't do something out there halfway and get yourself hurt. Don't want to do that. So anyway, I just wanted to show you the difference between sanded and before it's sanded. I know you might not be able to tell the difference too much on the screen, but when you feel it, there's definitely a difference. Your sealant on to keep this from flaking off and fading later on, and that's it. I painted the back side, so that's okay. Just flip it over and do it again. So we're going to let those dry, and then we will put together the frame. Everything's drying. I'll seal it, and we'll be ready to do the next step. Now that we have the pieces all painted and ready to assemble, we're going to assemble it. So at this point, you're really not going to see me. You're going to hear me, but you're not going to see me because I want you to see how I'm laying it out. There was particular measurements that the client wanted, and I want to accommodate that. So now we're going to lay it out just to give you an idea what it looks like. These are all the pieces that we had sanded down earlier. Okay. So it's like a puzzle. We're just putting it together. And what I'm going to do to elongate this is I'm going to add down here on the bottom. I'm going to move this a smidge. And we're just going to add this on the bottom like this. Like a really cool puzzle. And then what I do too is I like to embellish it so I can see what it's going to look like before I commit. Put that on there. Just kind of give me, doesn't have to be perfect because I just want to get an idea of what it's going to look like. And then we're going to put these little knobs on. So that's the bottom part. So now we're going to embellish the top part. And what I'm doing is we're just going to get a visual. These guys are cute, little birdies. These I picked up at Michael's. And when you're making something for a client, it's about what they like. And she's really into her purple and her vineyard type stuff, her wine. So just kind of embellishing in this here and there, just kind of playing with it. Just making it a little bit more personal. So that's what that looks like. So at this point, I've laid it out and we're ready to put it together. So we're going to work a little Hallie magic here. So at this point we have pieced it together, we've looked at it and make sure that's where we want to make that commitment, because once we start putting it together, you really don't want to be going back and redoing it because you're putting holes and stuff like that in your wood. So you want to make sure that you lay it all out first, take a visual, ponder it. Is that really what I want to commit to? Kind of like a good relationship, take your time with it. And then you commit. So I am going to commit to this project. We're going to finish it up. So what you're basically going to do is flip your board over, because you're going to be doing all the assembly work on the back of the board. We're going to turn this here so you can see this. Because I am putting that top piece. Also, another thing is we want to measure it, make sure it's the right measurements for the client. 38, that's pretty spot on. She wanted it 38 by 18, and we're pretty close to that. So when I was at the Home Depot, I picked up some of these little L brackets. You can get them in all different sizes. And these are really good for securing your frame onto, just to make sure that they're not going to tweak and bend on you. So different sizes for different projects, but these bad babies are going to go on this frame in order to make sure that it's not going to be wonky. So we're going to put these up. So a couple of points to bring up is when you're doing your screws, you want to make sure they're long enough but they're not going to poke through the other side of the wood when you're putting your pieces together. So you want to measure that off. So what I did is this is about the right size of screw. I just kind of measured it, just kind of held it up there and took a little quick look. I don't want to make things too complicated. If it's poking through the other side when you measure it, then it's probably not a good idea to use that screw. Another thing is to make them flathead. This is a flathead. I like flatheads because when it pushes up against, this is going to be up against the wall, but not really, because you're going to see another little trick I'm going to do to pull it away from the wall a smidge. But flatheads, they just lay better. Another thing I do is I put a piece of wood underneath, just to make sure I'm not going to drill into my table. That would not be good. So I just put a piece of wood down there just for I can do that. Okay, so measured about an inch. About an inch. So using my husband's screw gun. Nothing's sacred in this house. Anyway, I'm going to put this in about in the middle of that piece. You don't want it too close to the edge because you don't want to split your wood. And you kind of want to start it slow. Don't just pound it in there. Just make sure the wood's going to be working with you on this. So just because you have an electric screw gun doesn't mean you need to pound it in. You're working on a craft item here. You're not making a house. So you don't want to split your wood. So just go slow and steady. And with this particular wood, it's going to go in there pretty fast and easy anyway. You hear that little crack? I heard a little crack, so I'm going to back it out. This is smidge. Put it back in. This is just one of my little tricks. Because the last thing I want to do is crack my wood. Okay? So now I know that I'm committed to this piece and it's not going to crack. I can pound it, hold it down and pound it into the next piece. I'm going to back that out a smidge. And we're going to go back down. And I'm going to work this back and forth just a couple times. And this is just Hallie's way of doing it. Hold it down because I want it to catch into the other piece of wood. Okay. What happens a lot of times is you'll just try to pound it down. What will happen and what will cause your wood to crack is when you're pounding it down in there and you just want to get it done and you hear that little cracking, stop, back it out, go back down, back it out again if you need to. And another way to do it really is just to pre-drill your hole and put your screws in. See how that's on there really nice and firm? So I'm just going to pound out the rest of these pieces. You want to make sure that when you're laying your frame out that it's still squared and even, okay? Before you L bracket that. I can so see if there's somebody out there that really knows how to use tools and stuff, they're going, she's doing that all wrong. I am not a contractor. I am just someone that likes to make neat stuff. And my husband has all kinds of neat tools. So I jack his tools all the time. Okay. So you want to make sure your frame, this piece here, is nice and even before you commit to these L brackets, because you don't want to be taking this stuff off and on, off and on, off and on, off and on. So I like to get her done the first time. So it's that old saying, measure twice, cut once. Measure twice, cut once. Size up your frame. Make sure it's nice and even. And now we're ready to commit to this one. You don't want a copycat, you want to create your own thing. Because there's only one you. Okay, so we got those on. I'm going to throw in one more screw because I can. My favorite saying, because I can. And I'm listening to that wood to make sure I'm not cracking it. So now we have it all secure. Woohoo! Now we get to play. We get to put it all together. Okay? So it's all secure and ready to go. Up. So before we embellish it, what do we need to do? Right, we need to put the screen on first. Because if we don't put the screen on first and we're going to embellish it, we're going to flip it over and we're going to ruin all the stuff that we embellish the frame with. So while it's still raw and plain, we want to flip it over and we are going to put the screen on it. That's what makes it a jewelry frame. You have to have the screen. So now that we're going to put the screen on, what I like to do is I always pre-cut the screen. So I have a staple gun, and I know how to use it. Mama has a staple gun and she knows how to use it. So we're going to use a staple gun. We're going to lock this bad baby down. And because it's rolling this way, I'm going to spin it this way, just for it to work with me a little bit more. Plus I'm putting it on the bottom. I want to make sure it lays over and on top. Another thing to be mindful of when you're doing these little squares is line your squares up along the edge where it looks nice, you know, visually. You don't want to just slap something together. You're going to put your time into it. Put your time into it. It. We're just going to staple this down real fast. Don't be cheap on your staples. Make sure you have plenty of them on there. You don't want it coming off on you later, whether you're making this for a client, a friend, or yourself. Also, you want to make sure when you're putting on your wire that you've got it nice and tight. You don't want to have it all saggy on, because it won't hold the jewelry. Okay, so now that's done. And that one was pretty fast. We are going to flip this bad baby over and we're going to have fun embellishing it because for the most part this is done. So we're going to tap some of these little pieces in here. I'm going to tap one of these on each of my corner just to pull that frame away from the wall there's a little bit of a gap and it's not rubbing up against the wall. now that we've created the frame, let's give you a little shout out what it looks like. Ooh. So we're going to take a few minutes, we're going to lay this out, and I'll probably fast speed it as we lay it out. So make sure that your little pieces are even. You don't want it all wonky. If you're really OCD, you can measure it. And that does help to make sure it's together right. Pull that back a little bit. And I'm going to say, even though people make fun of you if you're a little OCD, because I am a little ADD and OCD and all those alphabets, all those letters of the alphabet, people do appreciate it when you get the job done right. So God made you that way for a reason. So own it and enjoy it. So we're going to embellish this and put the knobs on, and we'll be done. Mama has a glue gun and I know how to use it. So we're just going to glue these bad babies on. And I put the glue on the back. Don't glub it too much because you don't want it to smoosh out on you. So you're just going to glue the back of your, just a little swirl. Enough to where you know it's not going to fall off on you when they take it home. And the same here. I'm going to layer this on. And because I know I'm going to put a ribbon on this on the top, it's a little gloppy, but that's okay because I'm going to put a ribbon over it. It still needs a little personality. So I'm going to hold that down just for a little bit before it can dry flat. Remember too to use your little pokey tools if you need to get that in there and really poke those down hard. Don't burn your fingers with the glue gun. Not a good thing. Use your pokey stick. So for me, I'm going to drill a few little holes into the wood where I can actually put the pin in there, drop it down, it'll secure, and we'll be good to go. So what I decided to do is I'm going to drill the holes for the screws to come up, for the knobs to twist down on. I think that would be better and more secure. So anyway, like I said, I'm making this up as I go along. But we can make neat stuff. I mean, it's just a matter of figuring it out. We can figure it out together. Aha moment. And some of the drill bits, they have like a little pointer edge on that. So that might be better to use for this project. So if you're in there jacking your husband's drill bits, let's see how that pointed head does. Hopefully I won't break my husband's tools. So it's just a question of having the right tools for the right project. So get the pointy one, the scary one. It's so scary. And let the drill do the work for you. Don't be pushing down on it. That's a good way to crack and snap your wood, and it's also just not safe. You could slip, you can drill it through your leg. My disclaimer, do this at your own risk. No children under the age of 18 should be doing these videos. You can watch, you can learn, but if there's any type of power tool, no, 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 no. You get your parents' permission, supervision, and then you go from there. I had a son who was totally capable of doing all that stuff as he was a kid, but I still always had him do anything with his dad. I don't want your kids getting hurt. So no, this is not a YouTube for kids. Anything with a power tool, kiddos? No, no, no. Get your parents' permission. So because I have this sharp little bad baby in here and I've already got my holes done, I'm just going to take this out. It's really looking kind of cool, isn't it? So it comes back to that saying that I say, be a job, big or small, do it right or not at all. So if you're gonna make one of these for someone, or for yourself even, which is really a good idea to make it for yourself first, so you know what you're doing. But I've been creating things forever, so for me to make something new and different, it's like, oh yeah, I'll try that. Sure, why not? We'll make a YouTube video out of it. So anyway, that's what they look like. We're gonna tighten these up. So on these pieces, I'm just gonna glue them down. Now that we've heated up the glue gun, we're going to put these on. Hopefully I heated it up enough. And I'm real particular about making sure they line up and everything. Just kind of press it down there a little bit, hold it. Do it on this side as well. Now that I have my screws in here, I don't want to scratch up my table, so I'm putting this white piece down here just where you can still see the visual, as well as it keeps my table from getting scratched. So, not that a craft table is not going to get scratched, but this is still kind of a new table for me. My husband put it together for me, so it's kind of special, and I don't want to scratch it up. We're just going to get to embellishing it. Remember, we've already laid it out, so we already know what we're going for. And you can even cut the back side of these down to make them lay a little bit flatter if you want to. For me, I am just going to go with the natural, how it's still going. I have no sponsors or anything like that, so everything I do, because I'm too new to YouTube, so everything I do, I just pay out of pocket. So it's really cool for me if you subscribe. And I do it because I love to make neat stuff. I love to make neat stuff. And I love to share. I love to teach people how to do things. Throughout the years, I've had people go, oh gosh, I'm not crafty. Can you make this for me? Oh gosh, there's no way I can do that. And my heart's desire is to encourage you into realizing, yeah, you can. You can do this too. If I can do it, you most definitely could do it. So we're going to embellish this a little bit more. It's kind of just getting out of your comfort zone, making a few mistakes, and just learning by those mistakes and going on from there. I have made a ton of mistakes through the years. It's called a learning curve. Well, just like today when we were doing the drilling, I went and got the other drill bit because it's like, there's got to be a better way. Sure enough, the other drill bit worked just fine. That's what I needed, was one with a sharp edge. But I really am serious, kids. You don't do these crafts without parent supervision. I have a couple of grandkiddos who think they can do everything, especially one of them. She's a little brainiac and she's only 9. I love you, Daddy, but you know it's true. And it's like, no, you need to be supervised on some of these power tool ones. And I supervise them when they're with me, so you'll get to see some of the neat stuff that they make with me too. She loves to do her painting. So we're just embellishing these right now. So once I get these embellished, I'll show you to them. And it's just a matter of when you're embellishing them. See? You're just going to add what the client likes or what you want, you know, whatever, whoever you're making this for. And you're just going to make it all personal and blingy and fun. And it's not that hard. And that's pretty much it. So once I get this all blinged out, we are going to take a final look at it and be done. cut your flowers down as you're embellishing, because you're gonna work them into the piece that you're working on. So I cut a lot of my pieces, a lot of my flowers, I cut them down, and I make them how I want them to be. We'll put a little raffia on there and we will be done. Maybe a couple of little raffia. It's more country that way. But you don't want to overdo it either to where you're just over embellished. You want it just to be just right. But sometimes a girl's got to do what a girl's got to do, and you got to embellish it a little bit. So as you look at this piece, you're going to notice when I embellished, you're not really going to see where things end and begin, because I make it a point, I try to make it a point to keep everything clean and smooth. So without further ado, everything should be dry and ready to go. This is the bottom part. Okay, see if I can get stuff out of the way here. Don't burn yourself, Hallie. So that's what the bottom piece looks like. And then there's the top. I'm kind of happy with this piece. I had to figure it out as I went along and make it up as I went along, because it was one of those things, hey, I know you can do this. I'm like, well, okay, let's try. So together we can make neat stuff, because sky's the limit. Just getting out there and putting yourself out there. And that was not.
That was easy.
It took a little work to get this one done, but it was so worth it because I love it. It turned out really good. I think this will look really cool in her house. So the very last piece we have to do on this is the jute hang for the hanger. So I'm going to braid this up, tack that on, and we are done. You can braid it, or you can wrap it, or you can just leave it loose like that. Whatever floats your boat. That you give them what they want. Gotta make sure you give your client what they want. Hi, I have my granddaughter here with me via FaceTime. Say hi, JD. So I'm just gonna show you a couple more pieces of what you need to do on this, and we will, she doesn't know how to be quiet when I'm recording. You have to talk to the camera. Look this way, JD, look this way. Look that way, look out. Okay.
I'm undercover, Granny. You're not supposed to show my face.
So what you're going to do is put this... Jade, hang on one second. What you're going to do is put your sealant on. And my granddaughter's probably going to be talking while we do this because she's visiting with me. No entertainment there. So anyway, we're going to do a coat of this to keep this from flaking off and fading later on. And that's it. Just put it on. Put it on. What's that? What's that, JD? Wax on, wax off. Right? Wax on, wax off. She's so cute. She doesn't know I'm still recording. A few things. Because of the way they were cut. But it's okay because it was a happy, take a visual, ponder it. Is that really what I want to commit to? Kind of like a good relationship. You take your time with it. Dragging my heels long enough getting this done. So anyway, so here we go. We're gonna.
That was easy.
Not.